Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a trip back in time, way back to uncover a hidden gem right in the heart of Brooklyn. We're on a quest to find the oldest building in all of New York City. Forget the skyscrapers of Manhattan for a moment, because the story of this city starts much, much earlier. Tucked away on a quiet street is a structure that has witnessed nearly 4 centuries of history, the Wyckoff House. Can you believe that? This humble farmhouse dates all the way back to 1652. To put that in perspective, this house was standing long before the United States even existed as a country. It was built by a Dutch settler named Peter Clayson Wyckoff, who came to what was then called New Amsterdam seeking a new life. What you're looking at is one of the last remaining examples of Dutch colonial architecture in America. Notice its distinctive features, like the steep, sloping roofline that flares out at the eaves. This isn't just a design choice. It was a practical way to protect the foundation from rain and snow. The house started as a simple one-room home and was expanded over generations as the Wyckoff family grew. Imagine generations of a single family living, working, and growing right here on this land. The Wyckoff family lived and farmed here for over 250 years, right up until the early 20th century. Think about the changes this house has seen. It stood through the transition from Dutch to British rule, survived the American Revolution, and watched as the quiet farmland of Brooklyn transformed into the bustling, vibrant borough we know today. It's a silent witness to the entire evolution of New York City. In 1965, the Wyckoff House was designated a New York City landmark, and just 2 years later, it was recognized as a National Historic Landmark. This prestigious title saved it from demolition and ensured its preservation for future generations. It's the highest honor a historic site can receive in the United States, and it speaks volumes about the house's importance to American history. Today, the Wyckoff House is a museum, a portal to the past. When you step inside, you're not just entering an old building. You're stepping into the world of a 17th century farming family. The museum is dedicated to showcasing what life was like in the early days of the colony. You can see period-appropriate furnishings, farming tools, and exhibits that tell the story of the Wyckoff family and the Lenape people who inhabited this land for thousands of years before the Dutch arrived. It's more than just an old house. It's a living piece of history. It reminds us that before the concrete jungle, there were fields, farms, and families laying the groundwork for the metropolis we see today. It's a powerful connection to the very roots of New York City, a story of immigration, perseverance, and change. Standing here, you can almost hear the echoes of the past and feel the incredible weight of history all around you. So next time you think of New York City history, I hope you'll remember the Wyckoff House. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the most significant stories are found in the quietest corners. A place that has witnessed nearly 260 years of New York City history. We're right in the heart of Lower Manhattan, standing before the incredible St. Paul's Chapel. Now, you might be walking through the financial district, surrounded by towering skyscrapers and the constant buzz of modern life, and you could almost miss it. But this building is a living testament to resilience. Built in 1766, St. Paul's Chapel is the oldest surviving church building in all of Manhattan. Just think about that for a second. Before the Declaration of Independence was even signed, this chapel was already standing right here. Its story is one of miraculous survival. In 1776, the Great Fire of New York ravaged the city, destroying nearly a quarter of its buildings, including the original Trinity Church just down the street. But St. Paul's, thanks to the heroic efforts of a bucket brigade, was saved from the flames. It stood tall as the city around it was reduced to ash. That alone would make it a landmark, but its history was just getting started. One of the most significant moments in American history happened right here. On April 30th, 1789, after taking the oath of office as the first president of the United States, George Washington walked from Federal Hall to St. Paul's Chapel to attend a service. He continued to worship here regularly during the 2 years that New York City served as the nation's sex capital. You can even see the pew where he and his family sat, preserved for all of us to see. It's a tangible link to the very birth of the nation. Let's step inside. The moment you walk through these doors, the noise of the city just melts away. You're enveloped by this serene, light-filled space. The architecture is a stunning example of Georgian classicism, with its elegant proportions, beautiful pastel colors, and magnificent crystal chandeliers. It feels so different from the darker Gothic-style cathedrals you might be used to. Look up at the Glory altarpiece. It's carved by Pierre L'Enfant, The same man who designed the layout of Washington, D.C. You can really feel the history in the worn wooden pews and the memorial plaques, lining the walls, each one telling a story of a New Yorker from a bygone era. But the chapel's most profound story of survival is much more recent. On September 11, 2001, when the Twin Towers collapsed just across the street, the world held its breath. The debris cloud engulfed everything. Miraculously, St. Paul's Chapel survived without so much as a broken window. Some say a giant sycamore tree in the churchyard took the brunt of the falling debris, shielding the chapel from harm. It became a symbol of hope in the city's darkest hour. In the days and months that followed, St. Paul's transformed. It became an around-the-clock relief center for the recovery workers at Ground Zero. They called it the Unwearied Church. Volunteers provided meals, beds, counseling, and a place of quiet refuge for firefighters, police officers, and construction workers. You can still see some of the mementos from that time, the cots where workers slept, the cards and banners sent from people all over the world, and a simple wooden cross made from the fallen sycamore tree. It's an incredibly moving and powerful tribute to the resilience of the human spirit. Today, St. Paul's Chapel is still an active house of worship, a part of the parish of Trinity Church, Wall Street. It remains a peaceful sanctuary open to everyone. Whether you're seeking a quiet moment of reflection, a connection to history, or a reminder of the enduring strength of the city, it stands not just as a monument to the past, but as a living, breathing part of New York's present and future. We're standing in front of a building that has witnessed more history than almost any other in this metropolis. This is Francis Tavern, a true revolutionary landmark. Built way back in 1719, this Georgian-style brick building is one of the oldest surviving structures in Manhattan. Can you imagine the stories these walls could tell? It started its life as a private residence for the wealthy Delancey family, but its destiny was to become something much, much more. In 1762, a man named Samuel Francis bought the property and turned it into one of the most popular taverns in the city, known then as the Queen's Head Tavern. Now, a tavern in the 18th century wasn't just a place to grab a drink. It was a community hub, a place for business, and most importantly, a hotbed for political discussion. And as tensions with Great Britain began to boil over, Francis Tavern became a favorite meeting spot for a group of revolutionaries known as the Sons of Liberty. Imagine patriots huddled in corners, whispering plans and debating the future of a nation that didn't even exist yet. This place was the nerve center for early American resistance in New York. The tavern's most famous moment, the one that cemented its place in American history, happened on December 4, 1783. The Revolutionary War was finally over. The British had evacuated New York just a few days earlier. General George Washington, the man who led the Continental Army to a miraculous victory, gathered his officers right here in the long room on the second floor. This wasn't a celebration, it was a farewell. Think about the atmosphere in that room. These men had fought side by side for 8 long, brutal years. They had faced starvation, freezing winters, and unimaginable loss. Washington, with a heart full of emotion, raised his glass and said, "With a heart full of love and gratitude, I now take leave of you." He then went around the room, embracing each of his officers, many of them with tears in their eyes. It was a profoundly moving and personal goodbye before he rode off to resign his commission and return to his life as a farmer, setting a precedent for civilian control of the military that defines America to this day. This single event makes Francis Tavern a sacred site in the story of American liberty. After the Revolution, the building continued to play a role in the new nation. Before Washington, D.C. was established, New York City served as the first capital of the United States. During that time, this very building housed some of the first federal government offices, including the Departments of Foreign Affairs, War, and Treasury. Imagine Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson walking these halls, arguing over the financial and political future of the young republic. Over the centuries, the building fell into disrepair and faced the threat of demolition multiple times. But in the early 1900s, the Sons of the Revolution in the state of New York purchased it, saving it from the wrecking ball. They painstakingly restored it to what they believed was its original colonial appearance. Today, Francis Tavern is a vibrant living piece of history. On the ground floor, you can still step into a bustling restaurant and tavern, grabbing a meal or a drink just like patrons did nearly 300 years ago. It's an incredible experience to sit there and soak in the atmosphere. Upstairs, you'll find a fantastic museum that dives deep into the history of the Revolution. The tavern itself, and colonial New York. You can even walk into the reconstructed Long Room, the very space where Washington said his poignant farewell. It's a powerful feeling to stand where he stood. Francis Tavern isn't just an old building. It's a bridge to our past. It's a reminder that history isn't just something in textbooks. It happened in real places, with real people, whose decisions and sacrifices shaped the world we live in today. It's a blend of history and modern life where you can literally taste the past. So, if you ever find yourself in Lower Manhattan, make sure you stop by. It's more than just a tourist spot. It's a pilgrimage for anyone who loves history. We're heading uptown to Washington Heights to explore a place that's a true hidden gem, a building that has stood silent witness to centuries of American history. Get ready to discover the Morris Jumel Mansion, Manhattan's oldest surviving house. Imagine this, it's 1765. The United States isn't even a country yet. A British colonel named Roger Morris builds this stunning summer villa on a high point overlooking the Harlem River. He wanted a country retreat, a place to escape the city. He built this masterpiece in the Georgian style with its elegant columns and grand porch, perfectly designed to catch the breeze and offer breathtaking views. Little did he know, his peaceful retreat was destined for a much more dramatic role. Just a decade later, the American Revolution breaks out. The house's strategic location on one of the highest points in Manhattan made it invaluable. And in the autumn of 1776, none other than General George Washington himself takes over the mansion, turning it into his temporary headquarters. Can you picture it? Washington and his officers, huddled in these very rooms, planning the defense of New York, making decisions that would shape the future of a nation. Standing here, you can almost feel the weight of that history. The Battle of Harlem Heights was fought right on these grounds. This house wasn't just near history. It was asterisk history. After the war, the mansion passed through several hands, but its most famous resident after Washington was the remarkable Eliza Jumel. Now, Eliza's story is something straight out of a novel. She was born into poverty, but through ambition and 2 strategic marriages, became one of the wealthiest women in New York. In 1810, she and her husband, Stephen Jumel, bought this house and redecorated it in the fashionable French Empire style. They entertained lavishly, hosting some of the most influential figures of the day. Eliza's life was full of drama. After her first husband's death, she married the controversial former vice president, Aaron Burr. Yes, Aaron Burr. Their marriage was short-lived and tumultuous, ending in a scandalous divorce finalized on the very day Burr died. Eliza lived in this mansion for decades, a powerful and eccentric figure in New York society, until her death right here in this house in 1865, a full century after it was built. Now, you can't talk about a house this old without mentioning a few ghost stories, right? The Morris Jumel Mansion is famously considered one of Manhattan's most haunted places. Staff and visitors have reported hearing strange noises, seeing fleeting apparitions, and even feeling a mysterious tap on the shoulder. Many believe the primary spirit is Eliza Jumel herself, still watching over her beloved home. There are tales of a spectral woman in a violet dress appearing on the balcony. Perhaps Eliza forever tied to the place where she lived out her incredible life. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, these stories add another layer of intrigue to the mansion's already rich history. Today, the Morris Jumel Mansion is a fantastic museum. Walking through its doors is like stepping into a time capsule. Each room is meticulously preserved and filled with artifacts from the 18th and 19th centuries, telling the story not just of the house, but of America itself. You can see furniture that Washington may have used and personal items that belong to the Jumels. It's an intimate and powerful way to connect with the past, far from the crowded museums downtown. It's a testament to the idea that history isn't just in textbooks. It's in the places we can still touch and explore. So next time you're in New York and looking for something unique, I highly recommend a trip to the Morris Jumel Mansion. It's a quiet sanctuary of history, a place of revolutionary generals, ambitious socialites, and maybe even a lingering spirit or two. It's a reminder of the many layers of stories that make this city so endlessly fascinating. Thanks so much for joining me on this historical adventure. Forgotten Houses of Queens, where we explore the hidden historical gems scattered across New York City's largest borough. And what better place to start than with one of the absolute oldest, most significant buildings in the entire city? We're heading to Flushing to uncover the story of the Bone House, a simple wooden home with a revolutionary history that dates all the way back to 1661. Just imagine that for a second. This house was standing before the United States even existed. It's a true survivor, a direct link to the earliest days of colonial America. From the outside, it might look unassuming with its simple, saltbox-style wooden frame, a design very typical of its time. But don't let its humble appearance fool you. The stories held within these walls are anything but ordinary. This wasn't just a home. It was a battleground for one of America's most cherished values: freedom. The story of this house is really the story of its builder, a man named John Bone. He was an English immigrant who settled here in the Dutch colony of New Netherland. Now, the governor at the time, Peter Stuyvesant, was a very strict man, especially when it came to religion. He had outlawed any form of worship outside the Dutch Reformed Church. This was a huge problem for a growing community of Quakers who were seeking refuge in Flushing. Quakers, or the Society of Friends, faced persecution both in Europe and in the American colonies for their beliefs. They believed in a direct, personal experience of God, without the need for priests or formal church structures. This was seen as radical and dangerous by authorities like Stuyvesant. And this is where John Bone makes a courageous choice that will echo through history. Even though he wasn't a Quaker himself at the time, his wife, Hannah, was. Bone believed deeply in the right to practice one's own faith without government interference. So he defied the governor's orders and began allowing Quakers to hold their meetings right here in this very house. He opened his home as a sanctuary, a safe haven for a community that had nowhere else to go. Of course, this act of defiance did not go unnoticed. Stuyvesant was furious. In 1662, John Bone was arrested, fined, and eventually banished from the colony. He was sent back to Holland to face trial. But here's where the story takes an incredible turn. Instead of being punished, Bone pleaded his case to the Dutch West India Company, arguing that the Flushing Charter of 1645 had promised liberty of conscience to the settlers. And guess what? He won. The company agreed with him and ordered Stuyvesant to end the religious persecution. It was a monumental victory. John Bone returned to his home in Flushing not as a criminal, but as a hero. His brave stand helped establish a principle of religious tolerance that would become a cornerstone of American identity. This house, this simple wooden structure, became a powerful symbol of the fight for freedom of worship, years before the Declaration of Independence was even a whisper. Today, the Bone House is a museum, beautifully preserved to tell this incredible story. Walking through its rooms is like stepping back in time. You can see the original timber beams, the hearth where the family gathered, and the very space where those forbidden meetings took place. It is a place that reminds us that history isn't just about grand battles and famous figures. It's also about ordinary people who make extraordinary choices, who stand up for what's right, even at great personal risk. The legacy of the Bone family and their commitment to tolerance and independence lived on for generations. This house is more than just old wood and nails. It's a testament to the enduring power of courage and conviction. It's a piece of living history right here in Queens that deserves to be remembered and celebrated. So if you're ever in Flushing, I highly recommend visiting. It's a powerful reminder of the foundations on which this country was built. Thanks so much for joining me on this first journey into the forgotten houses of Queens. What do you think of this incredible story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next historical adventure.